Hi, I'm Bridget Dumont. I am the team leader for the Noble Virtual Middle School, and our students today are visiting the town of Berwick to build a strong connection with our community. We're spending our first 3 days of school in Berwick, North Berwick, and Lebanon, learning about the history, learning about what the town has to offer, learning about innovation in the town and how things have changed over time, and doing a lot of team building today. So we're grateful to be in Berwick and excited about the connection with our community.
I'm Tom Wright. I'm chairman of the Board of Selectmen here in Berwick. I've been asked to give a little historical background about Berwick and how it became settled and the evolution of how Berwick became to what we are today. Going to touch a little bit on the historical background of the sawmills and then the mills that came after that. And then we'll move into talking about how the tannery evolved to become the biggest town employer and what that all means. As Bridget said, my name is Tom Wright. I grew up in town here. My family's been here for a long time. My children live in Berwick still, and now my grandchildren live in Berwick and go to school in Noble. I was asked to give a little background, a little history about how Berwick was formed and how we got founded. And I'll start right here. The road outside here is called Sawmill Hill, and that's because when the Europeans first came over here, some of the first things they developed here were sawmills because of the pines that were here. But before they were here, the Native Americans used this area for gathering their food for their seasonal migrations. The Salmon Falls River behind us is in the Native American is Newitchewanick, which is Salmon Falls. And so it shows how important it was to them. When the colonists first came over, the Europeans first came over, what attracted them to the area were the white pine trees that grew in the area. Most of the colonists were from England, and England had already cut down a lot of their old growth forests. So when they needed lumber for their big sailing ships, they were having a hard time. And when they came to New England in particular, they were amazed at the size of the pines. So the first sawmill in the New World was established in, they refer to it as Berwick. It's actually in South Berwick, but it was part of Berwick at the time. And that was the first one, but the sawmills soon moved all up the river. We had mills all up and down the river here. And as the trees got cut down and the land opened up, that's when the more established settlers came in. And the first areas to be settled were actually out on Blackberry Hill Road and out that way. And that was because that was where the best farmland was. Once the trees were cleared, they discovered that the soil out there was excellent. So that's where the first center of town came. But then as the mills became more important, the center of towns moved closer to the river. That's why we have South Berwick where it is and downtown Berwick where it is. South Berwick split away from Berwick in the early 1800s, and shortly after that North Berwick did, and that's why we have the 3 towns nowadays. And as the big pines and trees got cut down, the sawmills switched from just cutting lumber to more specialty shops. And we had a lot of manufacturing along the river here that manufactured things like wooden barrel staves and carriage parts and things like that. And they were able to keep going for quite a while, supplying those things because of the water power. And eventually when they switched over to electricity, hydropower, they were able to do that. But then with the Industrial Revolution continued and more things being made out of metal, such as drums were no longer made out, barrels were no longer made out of wood, they were made out of metal, and cars were coming along instead of carriages. A lot of the specialty shops couldn't keep going, so those closed down. Across the river in Somersworth, some of the bigger mills stayed, but they turned into woolen and cotton mills, and then eventually into shoe shops, making shoes. So a big part of the shoe industry was getting local leather. And that's why in Berwick, is several tanneries were started in Berwick, taking the raw hides and turning them to leather and then converting them into shoes for the local shops. And that kept a lot of people employed through the years. And that kept going up until the 70s. And the woolen mills changed to shoe shops, and then the shoe shops slowly closed down as they moved to areas of the country that had cheaper labor, basically. And so they moved out, they abandoned a lot of the mills, and that's kind of economically depressed the rest of the area. And the tannery in town, the prime tanning, was able to keep going for quite a while because they dealt in quality leather and they dealt in a lot of government contracts, so they were able to keep going, but eventually even they were forced to shut. And in 2008, that's when they closed their door. So that's a brief history of the industrial side of Berwick and everything. I'm going to take you down to the center of town here, and we'll talk some more about what went on there and how that's changed over the years. And then we'll go over to the town hall and talk about that area and how the town hall got built. But are there any questions so far? I'll admit right off, I'm not a historian, so I don't know all the facts. I just know a little bit about things. So, but is
no questions so far?
No questions so far.
It's all new to us, so thank you.
Yeah. So, probably the best way would be to go around the back of the building and down that way. The sidewalks are a little better.
Not everybody gets to start their day.
I will pause here just for a minute. I talked about growing up in Berwick and how things have changed. When I was your age, this was the Our Lady of Peace Catholic Church, and this was a church my family went to. So I spent a lot of my Sundays here. I spent a lot of evenings here in Sunday school and in Boy Scouts. And the churches merged back, about 20 years ago. And so a new church was built in South Berwick, and that's when that diocese moved there. And then several years ago, the House of Hope bought this property, and it's great to see it being reused, for something similar. The original structure before the Catholic Church bought it was a barn, so you can see how it's changed a lot over the years. So everything is possible with renovation, I guess. So Berwick's been going through a lot of big changes, even since I was your age. There used to be a brick building here that held a hardware store. Over in that open space there was a grocery store. The post office used to be downtown. And things have changed over the years and moved out and come in. So now we're starting to revitalize things. But across the street where the gas station is, used to be Grant's Hotel. And that was really the center of town for a long period of time.
Right there?
Yeah. It was a Grant's Hotel. The stable for it was actually right up in this area here. And it used, a lot of the people that came here was the railroad runs across the river, and the station was right across the river with a stop. And so this hotel played a lot of influence in travelers coming up, business people coming up. And so that was there until the 1930s, and it burnt down. And then that's when a garage started in there. But the woman who owned it, Lena Clark, her family ran the hotel. She was one of the wealthiest people in Berwick, and what she did is she took her money and she gave a grant to the town, which actually built the town hall. So if you go in, when you go in to see BCTV, there's a picture of Lena Clark on the back wall. But so she had a lot of influence in what went on during the early 1900s and through the Depression here. But, like I said, there used to be another building here and another building there. This whole area was where the tannery was. When they tore it down, it was basically one giant building. But originally, it was 32 separate structures that were all built together. So is where this alleyway runs back through here, that used to continue on, and there were buildings on either side of that that had other businesses in them, and as they closed down, the tannery would buy them up and expand their property. So eventually they took over approximately 11 acres in downtown Berwick here. You know, so it basically was our downtown, was an industrial park. And in 2008, when the tannery went bankrupt and closed down, the property sat vacant for many, many years. And we finally, the town was able to reach an agreement with the owners at that time to clean it up. We got over $2 million worth of grants to clean it up. And that's why we've come to now, is this building you see here is gonna stay. They're gonna renovate that. But all the rest of it is all gonna be new properties, new buildings. Gonna be 2 new roads going through the property. There's gonna be a walking path going through. This will stay as a green space, but they've already talked to credit unions and coffee shops and grocery stores, and rumor has it that they're talking about a bowling alley and arcade area here also. But we're working closely with the current owners now, and you know, that's all into development, and hopefully this time next year we'll be seeing something else going on there. Some of the other big changes, I talked about the town hall and how the town hall got built in 1938 from the funds from Lena Clark. Is the brick building over here is what up until this last year was the town's fire station. And when I was young, the fire station wasn't there. There was a big wooden building there, and that was our original town hall. It held the fire station there, the town meetings were there, and the police were there. But after the new town hall was built, that was given over and was used just more for meetings and things like that. And then in 1967, I think, they tore it down, and that's when they built that building. Any questions? Comments? Yeah.
Do they possibly have a specific day on when the tannery renovations are going to be finished?
No, because it's such a big project. Is the initial start will hopefully be next spring. They're having to wait for the Department of Environmental Protection to get all their permits and everything because it was a tannery site. But that should be cleared out in the wintertime. And they're hoping to do the first phase within the next year. But they say it's going to take 5 or 6 years to be totally built out. But at that time, they're estimating they're going to be investing between $30 and $50 million in the site here, which, you know, it'd be the biggest development Berwick's ever seen. So it's going to be several years. Unfortunately, the bowling alley isn't high on the priority, but the same developers did a project up in Gorham, Maine, where they did a bowling alley and it was a huge success. So that's encouraging. So.
Is it still 11 acres?
Well, there's about 8 acres here, and then there's other properties on the other side of the roads over there that all go with it. So it's about 8 acres here, and then another 3 associated with it. So is, you know, and one of the things we're looking to do is revitalizing the downtown by having shops downtown again. You know, there are no restaurants in Berwick other than Subway, really. You know, so we're looking at things to bring people into Berwick. And that's one of the things they talked about with the bowling alley and arcade is, you know, family associated things so that people will come down. So.
That's a question I would have for you guys. Think about what would you, if you had a say in what went in, what would you want to see in Berwick? So maybe that's something we'll talk to back to.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of apartments also. Yeah, you have a question?
So yes, I was hearing that they were also going to try and make like a mall.
What's that?
That they were going to try and make a mall or something here?
No, we're not going to do it. They're not going to do a mall. It's going to be separate buildings. We want it to be, we didn't want it to look like Walmart or Home Depot or something like that. We wanted, they're coming in, the company that's doing the development, they don't want all the buildings to look the same. You know, because if you look around, at any town, all the buildings are different because they grew up at different times, and they don't want this to look like something that was just put down in the middle of the Berwick. They want it to blend in with what's already here. So yeah, we'll walk through the back alley and over to the town hall. All right, so the town hall, this is basically where the center of everything in Berwick happens. This is where most of the town employees work here, the town manager, the finance director, the town clerk. If you have to get a license renewed, things like that, you would come to the town hall and do it there. But also they have answer questions about your property. If you have questions about your property taxes or what you can do, or what your neighbor's doing, you can come here and get answers. But as I said, the town hall was built in 1938, and back then, as I said, it was the center of activity. Not only was it function as the town hall, in the top floor was the kindergarten. That's where I went to kindergarten. In the far area over by where Berwick Community TV is, that was the fire station. And then down in the downstairs in the back room where the recreation office is, that was actually the police station, and the recreations director's office is actually the old jail cell. But we're moving her out of that. She's off of parole, so we're going to be putting her in a different office. But not only did I go to school here, but the existing schools at that time didn't have a cafeteria. So the school cafeteria was in the basement where the town lobby is now. So as students, we would get bused down here, have hot lunch, and then get bused back up to school again. So it wasn't an ideal situation, trust me. So, but the town itself, the town square, other than this being built in 1938 in the tannery, it stayed pretty much the same. The building across the way has gone through a lot of different iterations. At one time there was a roller skating rink upstairs, and they also did bowling upstairs there at one time. When I was young, it was a car dealership, and they used a big elevator to store cars on the second floor because they didn't have a lot of space outside. But it's also, they had laundromats there, all kinds of things. The building across the way with the blue roof, when I was growing up, that was the local pool hall. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere near that because they had a bad reputation, although I don't understand why, because I don't ever remember anybody getting into trouble, but just because it was a pool hall. The statue in here, the monument, that was donated in the early 1900s, to commemorate the Civil War. And rumor has it that when it was first installed, it was installed backwards so that the man was actually facing the town hall. And when the sculptor came to see it and realized what was going on, they turned it around. And there also used to be actual cannonballs at the base of it. And in the early 1960s, some of the local youth came down on a weekend and decided to use them for bowling balls, and they ended up in the river. So we lost those also. So there's a lot of interesting little facts. There used to be several bridges that connected us to Somersworth. Is the one here, but also right across here about where that red car is parked. Originally there was another bridge that went across there and connected us, but when they put the railroad through on the other side of the river, they eliminated that bridge so there'd only be one railroad crossing. And then down by the river, down by where we started out at the House of Hope, there was a pedestrian bridge going over the river there to the mills, so that the workers that lived on this side of the river could easily cross over to go back and forth to work. And then with the advent of the automobile, that was discontinued. There is some hope to eventually replace that pedestrian bridge and create a walking trail so we can have a trail walking along the river on both sides. We have been doing a lot of work with Somersworth. We've been trying to work more cooperatively with them, trying to get things so that businesses and municipalities work together. We've played baseball together more often. We do the parades more often than we used to. So we're working on those types of relationships, trying to bring things in and make it so that Berwick is an inviting place to come to. So that, hopefully a lot of you, when you grow up, you'll want to stay in Berwick. Because one of the things we do have is a lot of people leaving. What we have people coming in are people that are commuting from farther away, and they're coming to Berwick because of the quality of life here. They're choosing to come to Berwick because they like what they see, not only with what we're doing to preserve the land, but also in the schools. So those are the types of things that we're working on. We're right in the middle of changing town managers right now. Town manager we have, Steve Eldridge, is retiring. He's been with us for 6 years now. Tomorrow is actually his last day. But in his place we hired somebody that was born, grew up, went to school, graduated, and lives in Berwick. And that was important to us because we want somebody that understands what we're doing here. Any questions? Comments? Sure.
Why did they take out the pedestrian bridge again?
Well, the mills across the way were the ones that actually kept it up, and they decided once people started using cars more to get around, it wasn't worth it to them to keep it up. It had nothing to do with Berwick or Somersworth as a town. It was the corporate decision on their part to take it down. But we've been working back and forth with Somersworth over the last several years, trying to figure out a way that we can put one back across. So one of the other things I should mention about the riverfront here is Berwick's really lucky because on the Somersworth side, they have the railroad runs along the river all the way up through town. So they don't have good access to the river, whereas we do. We have the kayak launch up off of Rochester Street that allows you access all the way down here to the bridge and all the way up to Rochester. And the building here is back in the 1800s. There are pictures of boats tied up to the back side of it, to the wharfs on the back side, people using the river for their commerce. So the river was what founded Berwick in the first place with the sawmills, and now Berwick again, we're looking to look at the river again and using that to help grow us again. So the quality of the water and access to the river is really important to us.
I have a question about your shirt. I've noticed the new signs in Berwick, and it looks like kind of a rebranding. How does that happen?
There's 8 years ago, well, getting close to 9 years ago, after the tannery closed down and sat there for several years, a group of people got together in town and they started talking about what could happen. And they called themselves the Downtown Vision Committee. And they're the ones that got this all started. And I started with BCTV at that time as a volunteer and started videotaping some of their early meetings and stuff. And that's how I got involved in it. And because I was videotaping for BCTV, that's how I got back involved and ran for office again. But the Downtown Vision Committee became official and it became the Envision Berwick Committee. And the Envision Berwick Committee, it varies. It's usually between 10 and 20 people involved in it. And it goes from people just coming out of high school all the way to retirees in their 80s working on it. And they work on what they can do to make Berwick work. And one of the things they decided several years ago that we need to do a branding. Berwick didn't have a brand. And so They did a lot of studies. There've been several different demographic studies and stuff. There were several surveys put out, and they chose a design consultant, and she came up with a couple different iterations, and this was basically the one that we decided on. We didn't want anything really flashy. We didn't want anything overstated, but just to let people know this is Berwick, and so that's how that all started. And even now, the Envision Berwick is really strong. They're continuing their work. As they're branching off now, is one of the things we're looking at redevelopment is this whole downtown area is redeveloping it and taking all the lines, the telephone lines, the power lines, and putting them all underground. And so there's a new committee forming called Dig a Hole Once or something like that committee, so that when we do it, we get everything done all at once, so we don't do something and then 2 years down the road have to come and dig everything all back up again. So those are the things that we're looking at to keep Berwick moving and keep things going. And as I said earlier, is a lot of people are moving into town, and they're coming to town specifically because they like what Berwick's doing. So it encourages me. Is like I said, I grew up here, my family's here, my grandsons are here, so it's important to me that we continue doing things that keep you people here. So any other questions, comments? Yep.
So which one of these buildings was the building across the way? Was it that brick one?
For what? With this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like I said, originally back it was had shops in the bottom floor, but there was a bowling alley upstairs. They did roller skating upstairs, and like I said, when I was young, there was a car dealer, a Ford dealership, and they had a big elevator that brought cars to the second floor for storage. Now the brewery is at one end and the fitness center at the other, and I know that is Alex, the owner, is working to get other businesses in there too. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully we can get a lot more things in town so that we don't have to go across the bridge to buy things. So how'd I do for time?
As long as Terry's good, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'll bring you around and drop you off at Terry's place, BCTV.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for having
Bridget?
us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being
We're
here.
excited. I think they're probably excited to sit down.
I bet. Did you work?
Terry Wright.
Yeah.
And she is the director of Berwick Public Television. Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, she and her cameraman, whose name I'm sorry.
Ralph Murray.
Ralph,
Yep.
do so much work to keep the public informed via television. And anyway, she has some thoughts about how we can collaborate together doing video with Noble Virtual Middle School. So she's going to share what she does and some of her ideas and give you your best attention, which I know you will. Smiles in your eyes are helpful when someone's talking to you, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's take care of essentials first. Bathrooms are around the corner here, just in case you need to know. All right, so does anyone know what public access is? You ever watched Public Broadcasting Network? Shows like Nature and some of the programs on Channel 11, Channel 26, something like that. What do you notice? Have you noticed a difference between commercial TV and public TV? Does anyone know what the difference is? Wow, what did he do to you out there? Okay, go ahead.
The difference is that they're trying to advertise stuff for commercial TV.
Yep. That's how they pay for it. They sell advertisements. So what happens is, a store or a restaurant or something like that will buy time to sell their product or to get you to go there. I don't do that. What we do is we record government meetings, we record local events, we take videos from the public. Did you know that? We actually, if you wanted to create a video, we would put it on our television station. As long as There are rules. Can't have swearing or obscenities or, nudity or anything like that. It has to be a clean video that a family could watch, okay? We also ask that you make it about our area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick little video. It's all of 8 minutes. And it will talk to you a little bit about public access, and then we'll kind of go from there. Sound good? Awesome. All right, let me turn on. So this is all equipment that belongs to BCTV. So the screen, the cameras up here, computers, television, all of those are part of what I do for work.
My name is Terry Wright, and I am the director of Berwick Community TV. And you are in Berwick, Maine, which is the southernmost town you can get to on the state of Maine. So Berwick Community TV is a public, educational, and government, what we call PEG station. We have 2 channels. One is government only, and that shows meetings such as planning board, selectmen, school board meetings. We also show things for town committees, such as the Envision Berwick group and some of our boat people who like to use the river, those type of things. Our public educational one shows graduations and school concerts, plays, that type of thing. But we also do a lot with our library in town. They have speakers and presentations and things like that that we put up as well. So our mission is basically to provide informational videos that help the public understand what's going on in their community and that provide resources and where to find those resources.
And I'm going to show you the control room and our studio and our server room so you get an idea of when I say technology what I'm talking about. But yes, that's exactly what Ralph and I do. We take information from our town, whether it be a town meeting or an event or an election, and we record the information from that as it happens, and then we put it back out to the public so your parents or you or anyone out there who wants to look at the video and see what really happens can see it. So we don't put out anything that isn't factual. Do you know what that means? Anybody? Go ahead.
When it's true.
That's right. We're not making up the stuff that we put out. We're recording it as it happens. So we don't make up what we do. However, Ralph and I did work on a video, but it's a historical video that's factual called Prime Development, Old Town, New Village. And that is about the history of this site across the street. So it will tell you about how prime tanning started, and we actually talked with the people whose parents started that business. And then we show what happened to it, and then we talk about the future for it. So you might want to look that up, but that's one of our documentaries that we've worked on. So I do that. I also do a lot of things like we have just negotiated to put closed captioning on all of our government meetings. And someone in our town is funding that for us. So I do things like that as well. And then I meet with people like you who might be interested in creating little short videos. Have any of you created videos of your own? Ooh, what have you created?
I created welcome videos for you guys and informational videos about Mobile Virtual Middle School.
Yep. Yep. We did a public service announcement with you. So we call them, instead of commercials, we call them public service announcements. And basically they're informational pieces that let you know what's happening, where you can get more information, usually contact, that type of thing. Anyone else created, how about SloMo videos? Anyone created one of those? Yeah. What did you create it of?
Cutting a balloon in air.
You did what?
Cutting a water balloon in air.
Ooh, very cool. So let me show you what we're talking about in case any of you don't know. And just so you know, my grandson actually created this video. His name is Zachary. The other thing we create are little video things like this.
My name's Matt Gagne, and I'm excited to announce that I'll be hosting Berwick Community Television's newest segment called Street Smarts. Berwick is growing, and with it, our businesses are growing. We want to learn about you, what your business does, and why you chose Berwick to put roots down, and maybe share a little bit about what you think the future might hold. Look for me on the street.
Everyone. So welcome to the Berwick Public Library Annual Maker Day. We have a full lineup of wonderful events for you to try out, all STEM related. We have sea perch in the 10,000 gallon tank. You can drive submarines underwater.
Sea Perch is a large organization. It's sponsored by Naval Research, is one of the sponsors. Ports Naval Shipyard sponsors many teams and organizations throughout the local community, either in schools or summer camps. We sponsor teams to build the Sea Perch and then go test them and compete.
What's different about the 3 videos that I showed you? Go ahead.
One's supposed to be funny.
One's what?
Supposed to be funny.
Yes, yes, it is.
Their settings,
Different settings, very good. What else?
different meanings.
Different types of things, exactly. One is kind of a fun little video, one's an informational video, one is a promotional video. Okay, so the library is informational and sharing what happened. The promo video is the one with Street Smarts, and Zachary's is a video that was actually given to us to put up on BCTV. Okay? Yeah, it's kind of hard. So what I was thinking, and this is up to all of you or to a few of you, whoever is interested, is we have equipment here at the station, and I'm going to show that to you as well, but you also have equipment at home too. I don't know how many of you have cell phones. Do you have cell phones? How many take videos with their cell phones? Yeah, everybody does, don't they? No, do your parents?
What?
Do your parents have cell phones?
Yeah, I have a tablet.
You have a tablet? Does it take video?
No, I have a. It's covered in a leather tape.
Oh, okay. Do you have like a small handheld camera?
No.
Okay, so you'd be somebody who'd come see me to see if you could borrow some equipment. Right?
You do have cameras on all of our school Chromebooks.
Oh, you do?
Creative ways we could use them.
So I don't know what you're all interested in. You know, I had a couple of thoughts. One is, how about an informational video about the program? So you could actually, this would be over several months. You could take a video of what you did, what you're doing, speakers that come in, things that you're working on, that type of stuff, and then we could create a short video, less than 5 minutes. I don't know about your attention span, but it seems like it's getting shorter each day. And we could put that up on BCTV to let other students or parents or people in the district know what you're doing. The other piece is you could make your own little videos. Maybe you want to make a funny video like Zachary did. Maybe you want to do, yes, go ahead.
So the funny video with Zachary, how did he create that? What did he use?
He actually used his cell phone.
That was it?
That was it.
What editing platform did you use?
He actually used the editing platform on his cell phone, an Apple program. It's a free program. He just downloaded on his cell. That's and that's what I recommend. Start with the free stuff. Don't pay for stuff if you don't have to. It's much easier to start on the free stuff and then work your way up as you wanted to get to something a little more detailed. Okay? But you could also make a public service announcement. Maybe there's something going on at your church or at the school or with a program that you work with that you want to let people know about. We'll put that up on our station. We'll put it up so many times a day, at certain times of the day if you choose. So, you know, like you get out at 2 o'clock, I wouldn't run it until after 2 so that I knew students who were in school would be able to see it. It would also go up on our social media pages. So our Facebook page would run it. So I could tag you in it so that you could add it to your Facebook page. How many of you have social media pages, Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah, we might be a little bit young for that, but
yeah.
Instagram would be our...
Instagram?
No.
Yeah, we can get it on there too. So does anyone have thoughts on what they might like to work on? Wow. I overwhelmed you, didn't I? Yes?
Maybe streaming.
I couldn't hear you.
Maybe streaming.
Okay. Yeah. We could do that. And the other question I had, yeah, go ahead.
Stop motion.
Stop motion would work. Yep. You could do that. Zachary's done 2 or 3. He just hasn't given them to me. He did them with Legos, and what he had is the Lego driving into the leg of a table and then crumbling.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's pretty good. He hasn't got it down yet as far as making sure that it all kind of flows together, but he does those. He's also done videos of RC cars in his backyard. Do any of you have RC cars? Yeah? Yeah, he set up a camera right in the middle so that it would catch just one end of the track that he set up. He couldn't do both ends. But the end that he set it up had a jump on it, which is what he was trying to get, was the jumping car. Yeah. And then I can show you how, you know, you can add your name, you can add the date that it was taken, little title slides or something like that. Would any of you be interested in doing something like that with BCTV? Yes? You would?
Yeah, I would be interested in doing
Okay, and do you have something in mind?
that. No, I was just raising my hand to...
Let me know you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think that this is like all new to us today.
Yeah.
So as our projects develop, we're definitely going to be doing some documentation. So we might have it like everyone take a turn in putting together a video to document our progress.
That would be great.
Also, we hope to have some interest-based groups forming. So there might be some kids that group together to do a stop motion animation or something.
There you go.
Or something that's humorous. And so we definitely see that developing as we get to know each other a little more.
Ralph, I'm going to ask you to come up front for a minute. Does anyone know what he's using right now? What's this called?
Camera.
Whoa, he's good. Yes, go ahead.
It's a camera.
Yeah, okay. What's this thing?
It's not really a tripod, it's like a unipod, I think.
It's called a monopod. Right. And why do you think he's using that today instead of a tripod? Yes?
Because the tripod stays in one place, the monopod can move around.
It's much easier to move around, exactly. And when you're walking, like doing films that we're doing outside, we try to use something like that. However, typically we'd have a tripod that we'd set it on so it's stable. Now, the camera that he's using is called the Canon XF100, okay? And that camera can shoot in HD. It does not shoot in 4K. We're looking at some brand new cameras that will. However, we're not going to use the 4K. Why? Yes?
That can run on a lot of different TVs.
It can run on a lot of TVs. That's not our bigger problem. Our bigger problem is the file size. A 4K video takes up a lot of memory. And when you're editing and you're using software on a laptop or a computer, it bogs the computer down and you just can't get it to work properly. So rather than, our other thing is, on our station, Comcast will only send us out in SD. So we're trying to go out in HD, and we're working to get a law passed that will let us. However, Comcast squishes us down to 720 by 480. So we make these beautiful 1920 by 1080 videos that look awesome on YouTube, but they look like crap on our television station. So why bother doing 4K if we're not going to get there? Now, what's the thing he's using on the top? Any ideas? Go ahead.
A microphone.
Okay. And what type of microphone is that? Do you know? It's called a shotgun mic. Okay, the long one here is a shotgun mic. And why do you think they call it that? Yes?
Because it enhances the sound very nice.
It does enhance the sound, but it shoots out in a direction in the front side. So what it's doing is, that's why you'll see him turning the camera to wherever people are talking, so they can capture it. For me, he's capturing it with this. It's called a wireless lapel mic, and we use them for all of our board meetings, because what I found is when I had the microphones on the table and people would sit back, I couldn't hear them. And they figured that out too. So they'd lean way back in their chair, and I'd go, oh, and I'd have to come out and say, sit up and get to the mic. And so I finally said, heck with that, I'm just going to make sure that it's attached to them. And that worked really well. The lapel mics for wireless, for something like this, are fantastic. We also have wired mics, which we can use if we need to. And we have handheld mics that we can give people so they can hand it off to others, which we also use. Other points about the camera that you might want to know is he can do sound from two different things. So he can do sound from my lapel and from the shotgun at the same time. On two separate lines, he can take that audio in and then mix it, or use one or the other depending on which one sounds better, which is kind of cool. If you want to use this equipment, we'll have to do some training with you first. However, I'm going to say to you that your cell phones or your iPads or things like that work very well also. You don't necessarily need to have an HD camera to take your video. Okay? Any questions about the camera or that you'd have for Ralph? None? Yes?
I think that some questions that were happening along the way was, why are you recording us today?
Why are we record? Why do you think we would record you today?
To share the NVPS program.
We are going to do a quick share. I'm going to do a short little video of some of the stuff that Tom Wright did with you to let people know that BCTV works in our community. So it's more of a promotional video for BCTV to let our community know this is what we do. This is what we really love to do. But our other thought was that if you do create something on the program, this is video footage that you could use for that as well. We would share that with you so that you could create something of your own. All right, any other questions that you had along the way? No? How many of you would like to see the studio? All right, so this is our studio. Come on in, you can stand right over there. Come on in. Pretty cool, huh?
Yep.
So, what we've got in here is, this is our main control station. This is the station where you can see up on there. That's actually where I program in for both channels. We have two channels, a government only, and then we have public educational. And I actually do the programming on that piece right there, and that shows me what's playing and what's up next. This screen up on the right-hand side is my cameras in the other room, and it actually shows me what I can see from there. So hold on one second. Can I get by, sweetheart? Thanks. If I hit this, see what happens? Is it changes the camera angle. So depending on what we want to see up there, we can change the angle to see what's going on. Okay? So when the the board is meeting, we'll use that if somebody comes up to the podium to be able to zoom in on them or on the speaker up at the desk, all right? This is what we see out there, so when she changes things, she can see what's actually coming up. So one is the preview channel and the other is the program. That's what actually goes out. This is channel 22 right now, and then our other channel is 95. And what she does is she watches this, and the minute the slide comes up telling her the meeting has started, she immediately hits this, turns the sound up, and then she comes over here and she hits this button, the on-air sign. Why do you think she does that?
So that people know.
Yeah, they could be having some interesting conversations they don't want everybody else to hear. So we let them know, hey, you're up on air, you need to, start the meeting now. And then at the end of the meeting, she does the same thing. She hits the button, it goes off air, and they know that they can talk about other things other than the meeting things, okay? This here controls the cameras. So this is how she zooms in or zooms out. We also have it pre-programmed for certain positions so that you can just hit it, it will automatically go to the podium or automatically go to the town manager. It makes it easier when we're doing the switching here to have that all pre-programmed. And then this is a DVD player that we used to record all the meetings to. However, the meetings are now recorded on YouTube and automatically go to archive.org. So we don't have to worry about that. We've got 3 renderings, one on our station and then the other 2. So we've got backups of all meetings, all right? This is my workstation. This is where I do my editing, programming, setting up of whatever meeting I need to set up, those type of things. You've seen the equipment over there. What do you think? We have 2 Canon XFs 100s, one 105, and a JVC camera. We also have tripods and backup systems and lighting and all kinds of electrical equipment that will go with it when we go up to the high school. And then we have the green screen on the back side that we use at times. Pretty cool, huh?
So what do you use to actually record the green screen? What makes it print pictures onto it?
So what happens with a green screen is you record just as it is. They just stand there or sit there with the green screen in the background. What happens is in your editing software. When I get into my editing software, I have a thing called chroma. And I can hit blue or black or green. I can even, on my software, I can even cut a picture of the color I want it to take out, and it will take that out. And then what I do is I grab whatever background I want them to have and put that underneath it. Yes?
How many hours of the day or week are you in this office?
I work here every day, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 2. But then I go home and from 2 to, you have the camera going, at 2 to 5, I work at home. Honest. I don't work after 5, honest. Never work after 5. We do nighttime meetings, we do weekend things. A couple of weekends ago we did a dirt bike race. So we work unusual hours, and it's not a Monday through Friday job. It's when you need it. So I typically work between 45 and 50 hours a week. Not good. Supposed to be 37 and a half. Any other questions? Lighting. What do you see? Yes?
I was just going to ask, so is it specifically for computers that you can use the green screen?
It's for editing software.
So I can't download it on my iPad or my phone?
You may be able to. So there are some free editing software programs that will do a green screen if you can find them. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I haven't looked, but I will talk with my grandson and see if he may know.
Cool. Because I want to record some skits at my house.
Do you? Okay. Sure. Not a problem. So typically we use different types of lighting, and that's something that you're going to have to be aware of when you're taking your video, because if you want people to see what you're doing, you need to have it well lit, but you don't want it too bright either. All right? So that's one of the things that we use a lot in our shoots inside. Outside, we try to use natural lighting. Any questions on equipment, things that are in here? Okay, great. That's the whole tour of the big studio. All right. So that's your grand tour of our station, our server room, our studio space, giving you kind of an idea of what we do. And I have to tell you, it's like my forever job. I wished I'd had this job when I was 20 years old instead of waiting until later in life, because I probably would have been much happier with the things I did. However, I will tell you it's a lot of work. Being a public access station director, it requires a lot of time. I don't mind because I see it as a service to the public, but you have to learn. And everything that I learned, just so you know, I didn't go to school for this, okay? I didn't go to college to learn how to do what I'm doing. I sat in that room for months and months and months learning what I needed to do with online training programs, technical help from the server people who were serving us, and from other public access station personnel. They helped me through this. I taught myself everything I needed to know to do this job. Okay, so anybody can do it. It doesn't mean you have to go to school, but you have to be committed to learning. And that's something that some of you may be interested in. You know, and maybe you're not interested in being a director, maybe you're interested in being a videographer. That's what he likes to do. As a matter of fact, he tells me he likes that better than anything because that doesn't require any actual, setting up of times and this type of thing. But maybe you like being a broadcast tech, someone who just handles the equipment and turns up sound and lighting and changing cameras. There's a lot of different jobs that you could do from this one type of entity. And we have a lot of people across the state who do videotaping for weddings, special events, things in their community, and they get paid for those as well as the job that they're doing. So there's, outside opportunities. Just trying to give you an idea of what you could potentially do with this type of a position. Any other questions that I can answer? No?
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming to visit, and I really, really would love to have some videos from any one of you. It would be fantastic to be able to say, hey, Noble Middle School, check this out, and give you a time slot that's, all yours for putting up videos.
That would be awesome. I think we already have some interest percolating.
Great, great.
Can we thank her by way of applause?
Well, I'm glad you all came to visit, and I hope to see you all again.